Welcome to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit.
It's the big guy. Get in here.
And today, it's Wise Wednesday.
You're so wise. You're like a miniature Buddha covered in hair.
Giving you the smartest financial advice in every aspect of your financial life.
You're so money and you don't even know it.
And now, the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit on ESPN Radio 1700.
Welcome. Yes, it is. It's that time again. It's Wise Wednesday on the Mr. Credit Show. It is JJ in the hot seat today, Synergy One Lending. And as you're listening today, if you have any questions that you want to get answered on air, or you want to get in touch with myself or our guest today, who will make you smarter than somebody else that you know, it's very simple. You just go to AskJJNow.com and you can call me. If you call me on air, obviously I'm not going to answer. You can text me. You can shoot me an email. I'll try to get your questions answered today or the next time we are on. Special introduction today. As you know, we do bring in the guests to make you smarter than the next guy out there. And we have to search high and low sometimes for these guests. And we do have a first-timer on air today on the airwaves, as well as on the Mr. Credit Show. And I'm privileged to welcome Mark Hoadley with Realty One Group in the North County here, right here in San Diego. And with 25 years experience, you better know that he's got a lot of stuff to say. He's seen a lot of stuff in the real estate arena, and that's why we brought him in. So, Mark, welcome to the studio today.
Oh, thanks, JJ. It's good to be here.
I'm glad to have you on. I know there was some calendar shuffling around, and but you stuck with us, and I appreciate that. I know sometimes midweek in this business, it's tough. It's tough to take the break in the middle of the day. And, we stream live. I mean, that's one of the things. If you want to watch us live, you can go to mrcredit.tv, and you can watch the live stream, which is pretty cool. So you can go right online and watch us there. You can also listen to us live at 1700 ESPN. And just a quick little market update for everybody. The market's been a little bit flat this week. I mean, we had the downturn last week. We lost quite a few points on the Dow. I mean, over 500. And we're at 16,443 right now. There's a tiny bit of green out there with the NASDAQ, the S&P. And the good news for those of you that are looking at real estate or looking to refinance, possibly out of some mortgage insurance, or looking to refinance out of an ARM that has since adjusted from when you took it out in maybe 2005 or 2007. Interest rates are holding pretty steady. But here's the thing, and I say it over and over. Don't get greedy on the interest rate. We've had a nice run this year. Interest rates went up the middle of last year, about 13 months ago. We lost quite a bit of ground. We kind of lost some ground through the end of the year, and we've gotten a little bit of that back. So if you are in escrow, you're putting an offer on a home, now is not the time to get greedy with interest rate. If you're happy with the payment suits your needs, lock in the interest rate and worry about the other stuff that is involved with moving.
Hear, hear.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of things you got to worry about.
Always lock as soon as possible.
Just lock it in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Mark, I got to tell you, I mean, there's people that I'm working with right now, and you might be listening out there. And if you are, interest rates are not going to go back down to 3% unless you want an ARM. But there's people, Mark, that believe that.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I mean, some catastrophe, economically speaking, would have to occur for that to happen.
Well, it would really be bond market driven. The Fed hasn't touched the discount rate in how many years?
It's been a while.
Yeah. So there's nothing much more they can do to drop the rate.
Yeah, they really can't. And so, I mean, the fact that the 10-year Treasury yields right now are at under 2.5%, and we bounced over that. I mean, last week was a good example. Last week was a very good example where we lost a solid eighth in rate, if not a quarter, depending on the type of loan product that you're looking at. And luckily, we've gotten a little bit of that back. So, just don't be greedy. Just lock it, be done with it. I always like to talk about some news, Mark. And this one is interesting to me because we see it all the time. The cyber break-ins, the cyber attacks, people stealing passwords, you hear about it. And this is a big deal. Here's a story. This was on CNN. I've seen it on the news as well. Russian criminals steal 1.2 billion passwords. Now, this is internet usernames and passwords. And this is the largest what is known right now, at least, as the largest collection of stolen digital credentials in history. And here's the thing that you have to be careful of. And I'm not going to say that I'm not careful of it because I don't want anybody looking at my stuff. But I think sometimes we get into a habit. Everything requires a username and a password, right? You sign up for stuff all the time.
It drives me crazy.
It does.
Oh, yeah.
And the tendency, I think, is to use the same credentials.
Which I normally do.
Yes, and I will admit that I do the same. And until you get hacked or until you have a problem is when you kind of go, crap, I got to do something about this. And this is pretty dangerous because what's going on is they're just doing a lot of phishing stuff. I mean, they're buying data. I mean, the crazy thing is they're able to buy this black market. People are able to buy in bulk credentials. And they're able to mass it all together and then send stuff out to fish around on different websites to see if stuff's working. And there's no major attacks that have happened with all this information, but we've seen it. We saw it with Target last year.
Right.
We've seen it on some other big sort of retail entities that they've been hacked, and all of a sudden you're in a scramble mode. I've had some charges. I've had some hacking, minimal stuff. A PayPal account was hacked. An Apple iCard or iTunes card, $100 was charged to my PayPal account with my credit card and sent to somebody in New York. I never even used PayPal. I don't even use it. I won't use it again.
I think a lot of us from time to time have had some of these things develop on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
I actually had my identity stolen 20 years ago.
You did?
And I had no idea that it had taken place. And they'd gotten a hold of my wallet and got a new Social Security number, new driver's license, got student loans.
Wow.
All kinds of instant credit. And I didn't really find out about it until the federal government garnish my tax.
Oh, geez, Louise. Are you kidding me?
No, that really happened. And it had been going on for a number of years. And I actually finally figured out who had done it with the help of the Inspector General's office at Social Security.
No kidding.
But they were powerless to do anything about it because of our laws in this country. It was a South African who was a distant family relative of my stepmother's.
Wow.
Been to my house one time and went to work.
And then, it's so often where it's somebody that's close to you that does the damage. There's people that they need help and they take it from you.
Well, nowadays it seems it's just very, very easy for this type of thing to happen online, and you've got issues with security that, I'm feeling very compelled to go home today and change a number of passwords.
And you should.
Yeah, particularly my Schwab account.
That's right.
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
and you should. And those types of things, remember, when stuff's all the same, it's pretty easy. When they figure out that they can get into a Amazon account, well, you know what? They can probably use that same stuff to get into your Bank of America account or your Schwab account. And that's the problem.
That's the scary stuff.
That's the scary stuff. So I do urge you listening to think about this because these guys, they've gathered information, credentials from over 420,000 websites. 420,000 websites. Who knew there was even 420,000 websites out there? But there are, because all these things require passwords. Everything requires something to log in, to become a member, or a login username, password. So be very careful. And a lot of times that username is an email address. So then it's just guessing the password. And these cyber hackers are much smarter than you think. They have the money behind them. They have the power, the technology, the IT guys. They get off on this stuff. They want to hack and they want to figure it out because there's so much money involved in scheming and scamming from people. And I mean, just to give you an idea, these people have over 500 million email addresses in their data collection. They probably have yours. They probably do. And it's just a matter of time. So just be careful. I mean, we're here to bring you the information that you may not be aware of. Just be careful. Go home and make those changes. And on the real important accounts, just come up with something innovative. Come up with something big as far as a password. If your username is going to stay the same, come up with something that's not going to get hacked into, because it's pretty scary. And I need to make some changes myself. I do. I need to take the time and make the changes myself.
Yeah, my first dog is all over the place. Yeah, I've got to get him off.
Yeah, you got to get him off. I mean, those all those security questions. Yeah, so you got to be careful with it. So this is more of a fun one, but it's interesting to me, and it's all related to some of the things we're going to talk about today, Mark. Because in the real estate industry, service is a major factor, and we are in a service industry. You and I both. You on the real estate side, me on the mortgage side, and we're servicing clientele. We're servicing the consumer. And Legos, the Lego brand got it right on this one. And this is just an interesting one, but a kid wrote in to Legos and said, hey, why aren't there more female Legos? That's it. And this was
really?
7-year-old Charlotte Benjamin penned a letter that went viral in January. This wasn't back in January, criticizing the company for the lack of professional female Legos. And Lego said, hey, you know what? Let's roll it out. And they've come out with a collection, and it's called the Research Institute Collection, created by a female geophysicist. The set costs $20. It features 3 female scientists, and they can't keep it on the shelves. They can't keep it on the shelves. But it's interesting because Legos listen to their target audience, a 7-year-old, right? And I have a 4 and a 5-year-old. I take them in the store, and Legos aren't cheap. They're not. It's always surprising to me how expensive they are for what you get when you get it home.
Always have been.
Always have been.
Yeah, even when I played with them.
Yeah, but they're fun. Kids love them. It's great. I think it's an amazing toy. They're using their mind. They're putting this stuff together. It's dexterity to piece it together as they get older. The Legos get smaller, and they can learn. They can play with stuff that is realistic. And some of the collections out there are amazing. They're just not all gimmicky. But this is a code that I think we should all kind of look at. Listen to your client. Listen to who you are servicing out there. A lot of businesses, I think, can take a lesson from this. When we come back, we're going to dig into Mark Hoadley's background. Our special guest today is from Realty One Group. If you want to check him out during our break, just go to northcountyhousehunter.com. I love the website name. It's easy to remember, northcountyhousehunter.com. And we're going to learn what's behind this 25 years experience when we come back at your lunch hour, 1700 ESPN.
If you would like free advice from Mr. Credit, just call or text 619-786-7853. That's 619-786-7853.
Welcome back to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit. And today, it's Wise Wednesday on ESPN Radio 1700.
Welcome back. It is your lunch hour, and thank you for taking the time out of the middle of your day. Hopefully you are enjoying your lunch while you're listening to the Mr. Credit Show. It's JJ, John Giroux, Synergy One Lending, bringing you the show today with our special guest, Mark Hoadley, Realty One Group. And if you have any questions and you want to reach out right now, maybe get a question answered on air today, askjjnow.com. And shoot me an email or send me a text with that question, and we'll try to get it taken care of today. But let's go over to Mark. We bring the guests in that have the experience to make you smarter than everybody else. In 25 years in the housing real estate market, you don't find a lot of people that have stuck around for this amount of, pun punishment in the real estate. No, it's not punishment. I know it's a great business, but you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot. You've been through a lot. You've been through a couple ups and downs. And
a couple of big ones, yeah.
A couple real big ones. Probably one of the big, I mean, maybe maybe one that we'll never see again. Hopefully we'll never see it again. But history sometimes will tell the tale and repeat itself. But, let's go backwards. I mean, with this much experience, it's really important to kind of take a look backwards. I mean, you got in the business in 1989. That was the good old days. I mean, you go to banks, you get a loan,
savings and loan.
Yeah. They're putting a loan in their own books. It's amazing to me when we look back just, say 8 years. I mean, here we are in the middle of 2014 already. And kind of the start of the recent meltdown is many years back now already, which is interesting to me. I mean, we just keep ticking those years away. But let's say 2007 is people like to say 2006, but you could still get financing in 2006. You could still get financing through middle of 2007.
Oh, yeah. We really saw some of the anomalies as far as sales prices happen in 06.
Yep.
But the market overall was quite flat. Most of the growth in appreciation in prices and the overall transactional volume was greatest in 04.
Yeah. That's where things were flying off the shelf.
It was crazy. Yeah, you bet. We had, if you really want to put things in context, we had another real estate depression here in San Diego County, and that was in the 90s. After a 35% clip of appreciation in 89, the market flattened out in 1990. We started losing all of the high-paying jobs in the defense industry, and the market slowly started sliding, and it lasted until the spring of 97. We lost about 40% on prices.
It's about 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years, and that was a long haul. We went from having 9,000 licensees in the county to fewer than 3,000 at the bottom of the trough.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, and about greater than 50% of the transactional volume was short sale. We had a crazy short sale market, and I really wanted to stay away from it this time because that's why I have all this gray hair. The biggest difference between that meltdown and the recovery, the subsequent recovery, is we didn't have the outside influences to the degree that we had over this most recent meltdown.
And let's talk about that. And you're talking about outside influences, meaning the federal government stepping in, the Fed's stimulation of the economy, dropping interest rates to bottom of the barrel.
You got it. Yeah, a lot of that. And back then, the securitization of the mortgage industry had yet to take place. And we did get financing from savings and loans. There was a lot of portfolioed loans. Things had to make sense. And you did not have things put in place simply to generate more loans so they could be shipped back east to Wall Street so they could package them into $500 million bundles, which they traded back and forth. That's where the real money was made. And that was the fuel that took so many tried and true lending practices and just cast them aside. Back in 1997, we finally started to turn the corner.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what was the driving force of that turnaround?
Jobs. Yeah.
Pretty simple.
We were attracting industries from primarily Northern California because our prices were really good. The weather's not bad. And, they started taking a look. So we attracted several industries from San Jose. The printing industry, lots of software came down, telecom, and our own biotech industry started blooming. The golfing industry took off. And we started seeing high-paying jobs coming back. And over the course of a number of years, say from 1997 to 2002, we had steady, strong price appreciation, 20, 25% a year. So we soon exceeded the previous high of 1989, and prices were all of a sudden very strong, very robust. And we actually sort of hit the wall in 2002. A lot of people don't realize this. But
as far as pricing is concerned?
Pricing and transactional volume. We had a huge lull in the market in the first half of 2002. And that's when things really started to change.
And change, you mean the mortgage industry?
Absolutely.
The loans that are available to the consumer.
All of a sudden, people are feeling a little bit priced out of the market. And rightfully so. We had now a situation where more people were starting to move away from San Diego County than moving in. And it wasn't quite so attractive to industries. People were going elsewhere to buy a house because the prices were too high.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this was happening in other communities on a national scale. But the way we felt it is just a flattening of the market. And then all of a sudden we started seeing all kinds of new products being introduced. The first being a stated income product. We've always had those, but now we had them for people that had regular jobs.
And let me clarify this for people that don't really get it, because I know people talk about the past a lot. Stated income products, when they were originally introduced, they were for the self-employed business owner that maybe they have a Schedule C, maybe they're filing as a sole proprietorship, maybe they have a corporation, but their reportable income on paper just doesn't show the way it should. And in this 2002, as these loans started getting released out from Wall Street, basically to the banks, Wall Street wanted the loans, banks wanted to supply Wall Street, they created these products that where the stated income loans just went out to anybody that wanted them. If you're a W-2 employee, you actually get paychecks. Screw it. We don't need the paychecks. Don't show us that stuff. We're just going to give you more money.
Yeah, some of the key elements, and these loans have been around forever, is you had to be a business owner, number one, ties to the community, excellent credit, 30% down, maybe 25% down if you were lucky. So you had a lot of skin in the game.
Yep.
You were invested in that piece of real estate. And, a lot of things had to line up. They were not easy loans to get. In fact, they were mostly all portfolioed, and that local bank would send out their toughest appraiser. And we always typically had a little bit of a problem with the appraiser. They wanted to be very, very conservative and protect themselves.
Which is smart.
And it worked. If the appraisal came in low, usually the buyer would come in with the difference.
Yeah.
These people needed the loans. And historically, upwards of 20% of our buying public use these kinds of loans.
20%. That's a huge, and especially in Southern California.
Well, it depends. I'd say that's be more common today than ever.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people working under their own guise of a business, utilizing the internet and so on and so forth. So this product all of a sudden becomes available to anyone who wants it. That was a big shock. Then stated income loans come along with the added value of interest-only financing. When interest-only financing came up, all of a sudden you've got an instant 20% discount on the mortgage payment of a typical loan. Well, what did prices do? They just filled that vacuum and prices inflated. So between everybody being able to now buy, you have stated income. The appraiser could be the brother of the loan officer. That's a bit of a conflict. There were just a number of these things that went on, and we saw prices really, once again, start to inflate. And there was no other economic driver to prices going up. Meanwhile, we have sellers that are holding tight to their real estate. They do not want to let go of the goose that's laying the golden egg.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to touch base because I want to compare, that rise from that before the meltdown happened to where we are now with the rise that we're since occurring. I mean, we've seen a huge equity push. When we come back, we're going to talk about the differences. What happened then? We kind of know the loan programs help fuel that. But what about right now, where we are in 2014? Because we've seen a big equity push up. Want to talk about that? It's your lunch hour, 1700 ESPN.
If you would like free advice from Mr. Credit, just call or text 619-786-7853. That's 619-786-7853.
Welcome back to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit. And today, it's Wise Wednesday on ESPN Radio 1700.
Welcome back. We are here to make you wiser today on this Wednesday. Thank you for taking the time during your lunch hour. It's JJ Synergy One Lending in the hot seat. AskJJNow.com. And in studio with me today, Mark Hoadley, Realty One Group. And 25 years real estate experience. That you don't come across that too often, and that's why we bring in the experts. Before the break, we were kind of talking about the past. I want to kind of tie the housing industry with the past, where we are today, Mark. We kind of know that the loan programs that were available kind of took us out through the 2000s. I mean, they enabled people to buy, it pushed the values up, and it kind of just all exploded in our face. Now, fast forward, here we are in 2014. We've seen some pretty good equity runs kind of back into the housing industry in the last couple years. From 2011 to 2014, we've gained a lot of the losses back. And what's interesting to me is it's a different marketplace from the loan perspective. People are qualifying with full documentation.
They have to.
People have to put a little bit more skin in the game. And you don't always have to. There was a good portion where you could get into homes with FHA financing, 3.5% down, all the way almost up to $700,000 with the loan amount in San Diego County. Our loan limits were $697,500, and that's kind of been taken away from us. It's been dropped to $546,250, and that's as prices have kind of gone up. So then we kind of get to this point of, well, you're now in a jumbo loan perspective, but some first and second combination loan programs have kind of come back to play. What do you think? Right now, as we sit in the middle of 2014, you've been through the downturn a couple times, some pretty ugly ones. How confident are you right now with the equity positions that have kind of come back to play? Do you feel like we're safe in the housing market where values are?
Well, as long as interest rates remain the same.
Okay.
I think we're very sensitive to interest rates, and or we have some true economic growth where people's incomes really start to improve. It's been quite flat for the last 10 years.
It has.
And
it
in
has.
a lot of industries, there's been big haircuts. So if we start seeing incomes improve, jobs, and interest rates remaining fairly stable, we can have a reasonable amount of appreciation. I don't know that we're going to see a 25% annual clip.
And nor should we see that.
Right.
Right? That's just not a safe play.
Yeah. Well, usually there's a big hangover.
Yeah.
And, we actually came out unscathed over the last 12 months. We had a 20% increase in the cost of financing.
Yes.
A property, and we still came out with a 6 to 9% annual appreciation. Now, a lot of what drives the market now is all the instant information that's available on the internet, and so the market can move a lot faster than we think. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's really surprised me over the last several years.
The change in the industry period.
Well, not only that, but just the advent of so much information so fast.
Yeah.
There are, people take advantage of it. People that have maybe a certain degree of power. You might recall that gas prices didn't move as quickly 20 years ago as they do today.
Right.
And that sort of thing. So some of the markets now, this instant information that's available will influence not only the power players, but the general public. And in some cases, people shut down. We saw when Bernanke announced that all of a sudden, interest rates will remain unchanged for the next 2 or 3 years. That was a first. Part of the Fed's job is to keep everybody guessing.
Right.
Right. So there was no sense of urgency all of a sudden for buyers to go out and buy a house. In fact, a lot of them sat around with their arms crossed, tapping their feet, going, "I wonder how much lower the interest rates will drop."
That's right.
And we had a bit of a hangover in buyer traffic after those statements.
And the interest, and those people that hung on, they got lucky because the interest rates did go lower. They went lower. One thing that I find interesting is we don't have the loan products that we had. And I don't know if they'll ever come back. I mean, you hear some products come into play. They're coming to market. They're called they're in the non-qualified mortgage space, which is kind of getting around the new sort of regulatory dynamics that were released in January of this year. They're all going to be portfolio loans, kind of going back to those 1980s days where banks are sticking it in their portfolio because they find the value of lending the money to be attractive.
I'm really glad to see that happen.
So do you think that's been a missing piece? I mean, we've moved the inventory. People have increased the equity positions of their home. Do we need these products coming back?
Well, I think certainly a stated income product for a business owner with 30% down, if it all makes sense, makes sense. One of the real problems with current underwriting guidelines, sort of the knee-jerk pendulum effect, if you will, of what we went through before, is they're throwing out loans that make total sense.
Yep.
If someone's putting 75% down and the $100,000 balance, the debt service is a fraction of what the property would rent for, well, give the guy the money.
Yep.
I mean, it makes sense.
Well, and what's interesting is you'd mentioned sort of Wall Street, in the 2000s, right? The 2002 is where we saw Wall Street kind of dip their hands into the securitization side of the mortgage backs. And now we don't really have that. We don't have it because Wall Street has gotten a little smarter. And instead of buying the paper, they've just bought the real estate. All right? We have the hedge funds out there buying up real estate, holding on to that, making plenty of money there. So really we need Wall Street to come back to play in this game to say, hey, you know what? We want some of that paper. We're going to take it off your hands because the banks necessarily don't want to hold on to the paper because the regulators have gotten involved and have changed the dynamics for the banks to hold the paper to increase their reserve base, made it much more expensive to hold on to this stuff.
Right.
So I don't know if we're going to need it or it's going to help, but I think it will come. I think the product's coming. But I have a question for you. You've seen the people go through the short sales. You've seen the people possibly having to go through a foreclosure in this last downturn.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people out there that are sitting in that penalty box because of the short sale or the credit ding that they've taken that have 10% down or 20% down. Some of them even have 30% down. But they don't necessarily have the product to get them back in the mix. Do you think that the public that has gone through that credit challenge with the short sale or the foreclosure, do they deserve to get back in the game faster than what might be set out there right now? Let's just say it's 4 years. Let's say you want to buy $1 million property and you want a jumbo loan in just your standard 30-year fixed loan and it's a 4-year waiting period. Is 4 years too long to keep them in the penalty box?
I don't think so.
No,
I really don't. I think what's more important is that they have sufficient skin in the game. Maybe the penalty might be limited to mortgage insurance. In other words, if you can come up with the cash and have enough of a down payment, you're in. Certainly, I'd say the single largest handcuff for most folks is the debt to income ratios.
Yep.
And that's always been, the challenge, even more so today, but they're really quite necessary.
Yeah. Oh, I think they're necessary.
Yeah.
I do. And what's interesting, I think the underwriting can change. I think if the right people in the industry got involved with the regulators and talked about specifically debt to income ratios, what's interesting that I find is you take, let's say, a VA loan. Okay, a veteran, somebody that's been in the military, and you take a VA loan, they really qualify based on something called a residual income. Let's take the maintenance cost of the home, how many people you have in the family, because that, those number of people are going to add cost to the household, your PITI of the home, and all your other debts that are showing up on your credit report. And you need a certain amount left after your income, but not the gross income, more the net income after you've paid your taxes. The taxes have come out. You need this residual income. If we qualified people based on residual income, those that make more would qualify for more, because you can't categorize somebody that's making $30,000 gross income a month with the same debt to income ratio as somebody that's making $5,000 a month.
Oh, agreed.
And that, I think, is the biggest problem that I see, is that we get stuck in these 40% debt to income ratios, or let's say 43% debt to income ratios. And this guy that is making $30,000 a month, he's got a lot of money left over.
You bet.
At the end of the month. And he could afford much more house. But we're stuck in that box. And that's where I think the adjustment needs to be made. I think we'll find the programs coming back. But when we come back, we're going to continue this. I'm loving this talk, because we don't dig into this enough here on the Mr. Credit Show. And with 25 years experience, I appreciate the experience and the knowledge that you're bringing to the table. If you have any questions for Mark Hoadley, Realty One Group, NorthCountyHouseHunter.com is where you can find Mark and tap into that industry experience. When we come back, we're going to continue the talk on San Diego real estate. 1700 ESPN.
If you would like free advice from Mr. Credit, just call or text 619-786-7853. That's 619-786-7853.
Welcome back to the Lunch Hour with Mr. Credit. And today, it's Wise Wednesday on ESPN Radio 1700.
Welcome back. It is your lunch hour on the Mr. Credit Show. It's JJ John Girotes with Synergy One Lending at AskJJNow.com. We have Mark Hoadley with Realty One Group in the studio today, first timer, and just giving us a lot of great information on the marketplace. And Mark, with 25 years experience, one thing I want to touch on is, there's a lot of inventory out there right now. Inventory
building.
It's been building. I mean, I think in March we were a little over 3,000 homes, and we're over 8,000. I don't know if that's still holding true, but I think the number, is right around that number. And good or bad, the inventory is out there. So as inventory builds, I mean, you have more sellers sitting on properties. I've seen, I go to the real estate pitch sessions. They call them marketing sessions around the county. And you see the price reductions kind of happening out there. Probably people listing their home too high to begin with, trying to, really milk it for all it is. But if you're a seller and you're listening today and you haven't put your house on the market, but the time is come. And maybe it's you moved, maybe you got married, maybe somebody passed away, maybe you had a kid. I mean, all these different reasons why people move or sell or buy real estate. But you're sitting here and you're going, you know what? I got to get my house on the market. I keep hearing the inventory levels going up. I keep reading some stuff out there that maybe there's a housing slowdown out there a little bit with the number of transactions being moved. What is it as a seller that you can do today or start on prepping your house to really maximize the value you're going to obtain from it?
I've got a couple answers for that. First off, hey, when you first acquire a property, maybe you're listening and you just purchased a home. you're going to sell that home someday,
Yes.
more than likely.
More than likely.
So probably the best single investment you can make in that piece of real estate is to plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Never heard that one
Yeah.
before, Mark.
Yeah, it'll have the highest return on your investment. The one common denominator that all buyers want and potential homeowners are looking for is privacy.
I agree with that.
Okay, so anything you can do to your piece of real estate to enhance the privacy of that piece of real estate, do it now.
Interesting.
Because trees grow. And in 5, 10, 15 years, if you've enhanced and, say, blocked out the view of neighbors on either side of the property, planted a hedgerow to take out the rooftops down below your view, you've just dramatically enhanced the value of your property.
I love it.
Pretty affordable to do when you're buying, 15-gallon or 1-gallon plants.
Right.
If you're calling me and you're ready to sell and you haven't done that, it's going to cost a few bucks.
Well, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to buy the big box tree, right?
Absolutely, it
Yeah.
could cost a lot of money to
Yeah.
do that, or you might have to forego it entirely.
And is this? I mean, so let's talk about that. I mean, I'm looking at selling. I call you up. You come out. You preview the property. I mean, sure, it might cost a few $100 to get the tree and bring it in to get it planted. But is that something that I should be thinking about doing?
Well, the first thing you should be thinking about doing if you're ready is find the right realtor for you.
And what do you
And-
mean by that?
Well, I think a realtor is as important as a good family doctor or a good family attorney, someone that you can rely on. Interview them first thing. Maybe you're thinking about selling your property this next spring. Now's the time to be talking to agents and even to select the right realtor. Most of the time when I list a property, it's anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months before I put that property on the market.
Okay.
And I'll have a listing agreement with a client that allows me to be very involved in that pre-marketing process. And getting the property ready is extremely important.
Oh, yeah.
You want to have that property dialed in before it hits the market. And the other thing is if you're consulting with a realtor that is an expert in staging and knows where to put your efforts, you're probably going to save a lot of money. Most people wait until they're literally ready to put the home on the market next week. They've already done the bath remodel. Maybe they've spent a lot of money on some real cool custom things. Maybe they like color and they've put in all these wonderful colors on their walls.
We've
That's
seen it.
way too strong. It's really important to consult with the agent if you're doing anything to your property with the idea of selling it before you do it. I try to save my clients a lot of time and money in that process. I can bring other vendors to the table to assist. And in some cases, if it's an absentee owner, I'll just take over the whole project on their behalf.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's Mark Hoadley, Realty One Group. And I'm going to give you a cell phone number. You can call him direct, 760-525-5121. That's 760-525-5121. He's our North County househunter.com real estate agent. That is right. northcountyhousehunter.com. If you want to search for properties, you need that expert to guide you during a market that is changing. It's constantly changing. With 25 years experience, he definitely knows how to operate through the changes. We only have a couple minutes left, Mark, but one thing that we were talking about during the break that I admire is in the heat of the market in 2004, 2003, when everybody just wanted to get in, you saw the detriment of kind of potentially buying a home at that time, and you kind of pushed the buyers aside, and you worked with the listings, you worked with the sellers
Primarily.
but you were showing that maybe right now isn't a good time to buy, and that's very admirable for somebody to just turn away the business.
Certainly first-time buyers had no business in that market. If you were selling a piece of real estate at a hugely inflated price and moving your equity into a more suitable property for yourself and your family, terrific. You'll rise or fall as the market does. But if you're just getting your feet wet and you've scraped together a down payment and you're going to end up getting buried, no way.
And you just don't want to help that person. I mean, it's not that you don't want to help them. You were trying to help them.
I advised them to wait. I said, wait 2-3 years, put some more cash together. There'll be a better time.
And and I'll tell you, folks that are listening, I mean, that doesn't happen too often where you have somebody that's saying, hey, you know what? Here's the reality of the situation. When you have the experience that Mark has going back to 1989, it's very valuable, and that's why you can rely on him for your family, your family realtor. And again, his number is 760-525-5121. Mark, time goes by fast on these shows.
Real quick.
I appreciate you taking the time today to come on. We'll bring you back, and it was a pleasure. It's a pleasure to dig into that mind of yours and kind of bring it all together, the past, the present, and putting the real estate market together. So thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you, JJ.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
It's always your lunch hour, and you give us the topics to talk about. We're going to talk about them. We're going to bring the guests into the studio to help you make you smarter than the next guy, to help you make those decisions that are life-changing decisions. It's JJ, Synergy One Lending. We'll see you next time on the Mr. Credit Show, 1700 ESPN.
If you would like to contact Mr. Credit or access any free offers mentioned on the show, just go to mrcredit.org. That's mrcredit.org.